we're live.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to what's been called the palate cleanser of Blades and Blasters, our game of the One Ring. It's our wholesome and heroic campaign wherein the player characters have pitted themselves against the forces of darkness. This is book 3 of our campaign. It's been going on for quite a while, and some big things have just happened. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and kick off. All right, I'll be up at the top left-hand corner. And so it was that in the wee hours of April 18th, Eravul and company departed one way, and Aragorn chose another. And to this king without a kingdom we turn our attention. We spy along the hedgerow as the lordly man, 4 halflings in tow, exits Bree under cover of darkness. He winds north and south, leaving Bree Hill behind as the sun rises and casts long, pale morning shadows across the countryside. There's no time for breakfast, despite the hobbits' belly aching, and the unlikely company leaves the road, headed northward. They stumble on stony paths, sometimes climbing and other times clambering down steep embankments. Though the weather is fair, the colors seem drab and washed out, and a sense of unease slithers into the bellies of the hobbits. "I've got a queer feeling, Mr. Strider," says Sam at one point. "Like we're being watched. Like all these hills are haunted, and their eyes won't leave us." Aragorn smiles and nods. "Yes, Samwise, you are right. We are being watched. The enemy has many spies, but neither are we without friends or without some measure of help. My line is long and proud, and we have many allies among the birds and beasts of this land. Nay, we will never enjoy safety, I fear, at least until Rivendell. But you do not have cause yet to be so frightened yet, Master Hobbit." And as they continue, Sam takes comfort in Aragorn's words. He tightens his belt, and they continue. One evening, after several days in the wild, the company was camping near a large marsh amidst a dreadful racket. There were some sorts of creatures in the rushes. Eek break, eek break. That's when they saw far to the east the hills illuminated as if lightning was leaping from their tops. But there was no wind or rain or feeling of storm in the air. Aragorn again comforted the hobbits. "Do not grow frightened. There are many strange creatures in the wild, even I do not know them all. And I sense no malice here. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we make for Weathertop." Kind of as the camera zooms out, you see that all familiar kind of cinematic with Aragorn and the 4 hobbits behind him, and they make their way towards Weathertop. And then the night deepens. And I think a lot of you know how the story goes from there. But at this point, the camera will fade, and we will find ourselves back with our heroes. Goodwill Took has just come down from the hills after he saw a heroic figure cross the bridge to his right. As Goodwill looked up, he saw a tall and proud elf atop a white steed. And as that elf pulled back his cloak, he revealed the keen and proud face of a friend that Goodwill thought was dead, thought was perished, lost so long ago in the Misty Mountains, buried beneath the bodies of broken and bloodied orcs. As Goodwill looks up, he hears a clip-clop, 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 and another proud figure emerges, white and gleaming as well. Goodwill recognizes this figure as Glorfindel. I'll let you guys take it away from there.
Goodwill is in the brush nearby the last bridge, and he was planning to make his way up to the bridge to ensure that the Black Riders, those who have been following him and his group, are not overtaking them and waiting for them in ambush. And though he had seemed brave and courageous with his words as he left the rest of the fellowship up on the hilltop, as he drew closer to the bridge, he was not so sure. As with all hobbits who take courageous endeavors, there's always doubts and questions when they're alone by themselves with the big world all around them. And in that moment of doubt and hesitation, as he was willing himself forward, he sees the two elves. He can't believe his eyes. Glorfindel, yes, he has seen him many times, but can it be? But how? Why would he not? And here, of all places, in our time of need, are these tricks? And Goodwill creeps forward to the bridge. He would like to examine closer to ensure that it is actually Athanar and not some tricks that the shadows are playing on his eyes.
Yeah, as you come forward, you see if it's possible for Athanar's visage to grow more fair and more proud. It certainly has, but you recognize that this is your old friend.
Goodwill steals his face. I don't know how you did that, old friend. And I don't know why you would let someone like me believe you were dead for so long. Goodwill kind of gets a sly smile on his face. I believe I'd used a hope to be invisible in the last session.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use that. And if you want, I can burn one more hope.
You don't
Continue to
need
be invisible and make my way really close to Athanar's horse. And I will look for a moment where maybe Glorfindel and Athanar are not kind of like looking at each other's backs. And I will wait for the opportune moment. And when I get it, I will firmly slap that horse's ass and startle Athanar off his mount.
Ghost?
Yeah, so as Arthur pulls up to the bridge, standing there waiting for Glorfindel to come forward, the horse neighs and bellows below him. He has to pull on the reins to try to secure it, but far too much to do so. Ends up dropping his helmet and having to actually get off of the horse before it throws him backwards. Goodness. This creature was quite regal a moment ago. And then, realizing that there was a slap, kind of looks around to see where that had come from.
And Goody will be beside the horse, kind of looking at his feet, appearing extremely innocent. Athaner. Seems you're not the only one who has a surprise on me today. And Goody kind of smiles. I do not know what you're doing here, how it is that you're here, but I am glad to see you, old friend.
Seeing Goody, Arthur will step forward and put his hand on the back of Goodwill's head as he takes a knee, kind of bringing him in with a one-armed hug close to Arthur. I should have suspected such tricks from your folk. But yes, it is good to see you again, old friend.
And initially Goody will give him like a light hug, but then when he realizes that it is Arthur, like in flesh, he kind of, tightens the hug. It is, I have no, and Goody just kind of feels like, falls silent, and you can kind of hear a couple of sobs. I had thought I had lost you, old friend.
And I had thought I was lost. Oh, my whole thing just reset, sorry.
Everyone did, yeah.
Oh, everyone said. But yeah, Arthur would kind of pull Goody in. Yes, I had thought I had been lost. I was at the halls of Mandos and spent some time there. But I was told it was not yet my time. I was to return. And how could I refuse, knowing such battles still await me here? And of course that you and your folk would need my help.
Yes, a lot has happened in your absence. I, for a brief moment in time, found a papa. But that's a review between you and me. And kind of Goody smirks. A lot has happened. Things are still the same in some ways, but in many ways they are not. They are over the hill, up there, and Goody kind of points towards where everybody is waiting. I think it's time for them to see what I see as well. Shall I go get them, Arthur?
Oh, let us go together, perhaps. Bring the surprise to them, so to speak.
And Goody kind of gives you that sly smile. I'm sure Aravu will be boundless with joy to see you, Arthur. He took it hardest of us all when we lost you in the mountains.
I was amazed I did not see the oaf myself in the halls.
No, he was too busy protecting me and the fellowship. But now that you're here, you might be able to bring some cheer back to him. He seems to be a little more down than usual. He doesn't have someone to spar words with. Yes, this is good, Arthur. This is good.
Very well. Let us go collect them. So it looks to Rivendell. I shall be but a moment.
And then before Goody leaves and kind of shakes his head, but before we head out, he looks at Arthur and Glorfindel. We have 3 riders, or is it 2? I don't remember, on our trail. They have been following us since Bree, and they mean us harm.
As he says that, Glorfindel's been listening, and he's atop his mount, and it's very just like a virile thing, and just kind of looking back and forth. And after Goody slapped Arthur's horse on the rump, like Glorfindel, his sword came out, and as Goody looks back at him, the elf has just grinning a little bit and sheathing his sword again. And with the mention of the ring raids of the Nazgul, Glorfindel just kind of gives Arthur a glance, says, "It was good to see you again, Goodwill Took. You're always full of surprises. Arthur, I suppose we should tell him the news." And he says, "Just kind of waiting for you."
Yes. Well, I should let you know the Ringbearer has been recovered, but not without some fright. And just to be clear, but it went pretty much...
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Oh, no.
Just when Glorfindel and Arthur got to this bridge, there were the three ring rays were there. They held the bridge, and Glorfindel and Arthur basically kind of rode them off, scared them off.
No, my mistake. I misunderstood that.
No problem.
And when you tell that to Goodwill, so the trouble has passed for now. Then we can make haste to Rivendell.
Indeed. We should certainly do so. Even if we frighten them away, they may be back.
But now we are stronger, Arthur. Now that you and Glorfindel are with us, you should see the new troop stronger than ever. Even old Aglaron is shooting better.
Aglaron, that was the cousin with 2 left hands.
Yes. And Wilbert says he sometimes shoots with his eyes closed. But I tarry. Come, let us go get the others. I have so many stories to tell you.
Very well. Let's go see them.
And as they're making their way up the hill, Goodwill will kind of nudge Arthur. You know, when I was in Rivendell, I heard the story of the Spider Bane. But do I have a story for you of the spiders we met in Mirkwood? And Goodwill gives him a smile. And I was there. If we make it back to Rivendell, I shall tell you the story over some of Lord Elrond's wine. And Goodwill is kind of like now lost in thought about the wine.
And the others can see Arthur and Goodwill leave the road to the south and start kind of climbing up the hill towards where you were trying to be hidden, overlooking the bridge. You can see them making their way towards you.
Can we recognize it's Arthur?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask too.
Yeah, I think so. The bearing of the horses and the riders atop them, these are white horses. They're pretty much the exact opposite of what you expected Nazgul.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Just specifically, it is Arthur.
Maybe not specifically him from that far away, but as he gets closer, it becomes more and more clear.
Yeah. So Aravul would have rallied everyone to charge the bridge, saying that Goodwill was atop it with 3 riders, or 2 other riders. And as they begin to come down the hill towards the bridge, he's got his sword out already, obviously, and as he gets closer and closer and sees who Goodwill is with, his mouth goes slack-jaw. He kind of just stares in disbelief, his sword dipping to the ground, the tip resting on the dirt as he just watches them approach. And he gives Berendir a look of shock.
Yeah, Berendir would have been coming down with you by your side, pretty much. And his response would probably be very similar. It'd be like, yes, he's with 2 riders. On foot, elves, I do believe. Clad in white. But then ultimately leading up to like, by the gods. Is that Master Arthur? And he just starts fumbling. And same thing, just total look of shock, awe, and disbelief.
And in traditional fashion, as Arthur were to approach all of you, he'd look the 5 of you over and... Oh, don't look so surprised. You should be thankful it's me. Otherwise, the 5 of you would have been charging straight into Nazgul to go and die. Dismount off my horse again. Eravul, son of Airfell, and Berendir of Gondor. I am amazed that you 2 oafs are still alive.
That makes 2 of us.
Yeah, Berendir kind of breaks protocol for once. He actually allows his great shield to drop off of his arm as he sheathes his sword. And he just strides forth to Arthur and grabs, puts one hand on either shoulder, basically, or does his best to, whatever the case may be. And he just, how can this be? He says, you are slain.
It was determined that it was not yet my time. I had more to do. I was in the halls of Mandos. I was sent back to aid you. To aid in this war of all wars. I had died, but when it is not your time, it is not your time.
About the time you say you were in the halls of Mandos, Berendir's grip instinctively just releases, kind of like touching something hot or forbidden for a second, you know? And he just kind of listens, biting his bearded lip heavily in consternation. I've heard tales of the rehousing, but our people of Gondor always were led to believe that it was a true rebirth. You do not look like a child or an infant.
I must say, I don't fully understand how it happens myself. Only that I was there, I closed my eyes for but a spell, and when I opened them, here I was again.
Look, ultimately confused, but then quickly tries to regain his composure, realizing that he's stepped a full 3 to 5 paces ahead of his liege, and basically making a scene out of himself. He'll cut to a neutral look of acceptance mixed with admiration, and just gently place one hand on your shoulder. He says, well, it's a good thing that you have. It's an honor to be in your presence once again. Quickly step back in line.
And you as well, man of Gondor.
Arvul looks upon the scene, placing his sword back in its sheath and letting it fall. With a click as the hilt hits the top of the sheath. He doesn't step forward and is looking with giving a very pained look. Well, I suppose it is unexpected and well done. You can use your spear, certainly. He looks very kind of reserved in the face of this triumphant return, as if he's not sure how to behave exactly.
Yes, I imagine your sword was not just quite cutting it. You will definitely need my spear, I think, going forward.
He simply nods, not really taking the jest or getting involved in the argument. Simply says, "Very well then, we are off to Rivendell. You will escort us then?"
Of course. I hope none of you have forgotten the way.
No. We were attempting to lead the riders away from Lord Aragorn and the Ringbearer.
Mm.
And yes, if they had found us, we would likely all be in the halls of Mandos.
Oh, then. I suppose it is good that we found you first. Save you the trip. He hops back on his horse. Well then, it's still a fair distance.
Arthur gives a look to Goody. It's almost a frown. And he walks around the bridge and walks up onto the road with a heavy, heavy sigh. And nods for his rest of his companions to follow.
And Goody looks around and he sees that in his mind, in a simple world, things are going back to normal. Arthur jesting, jabbing at Aravu sighing with some regalness, Berendir being at a loss for words. And he feels that in some sense things are back to the way they were. And as he makes his way down the hilltop, so he starts singing. And my heart is like a little bird that sits and sings of very gladness. Sorrow is now some forgotten word, and so, except in rhyme, there is no sadness. The world is fair to me again, such azure skies, such golden weather. I'm like a long-caged bird set free. My heart is light as a feather. And Goody kind of takes a couple of skips down the hilltop.
As you do that, from down the road to the west, you hear not fast galloping horse hooves, but just a clop, 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 clop of horses and a low creaking of an ungreased wagon wheel and axle. You can see from around the bend like a team of two horses and an old man kind of driving a wagon, and kind of sitting in the back of the wagon is another familiar face. And I'll let Vidar RP his entrance.
The wagon gets closer and closer towards the bridge. And Vidar is facing the opposite direction until the wagon comes to kind of a sudden stop, and he hears the old man at the front say, "Whoa!" He hears the horses kind of clop to a stop. Vidar turns around and, "Well, what's wrong, old man? We still have a ways to go before I catch my friends."
Well, I know, Mr. Vidar, that your pockets seem bloody limitless, but yeah, I am an old man, and I have my limits, good sir. Can you please take a look there? He kind of points towards the bridge.
Vidar kind of stands up in the back of the wagon, and he looks at the direction the old man's pointing, and he sees a group of people, and the silhouettes and faces are starting to look familiar, especially when he sees the little one. He says, very well, driver. I think I found my friends." Vidar grabs his things and jumps out of the back of the wagon. He walks by. He tosses the old man a couple coins. He says, "You take care, sir, and I want to thank you for your hospitality." Starts walking towards the group.
Man looks down at his hand and a few coins and says, "Bloody cheap dwarf." Shoves them back into his pocket. And his wagon is kind of covered with a lot of wares that he sells. He's probably a traveling salesman that goes back and forth on the East Road, selling to kind of travelers. And you hear the clop, 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 and he disappears over the horizon to the west.
Vidar is just walking towards the group. He has his mattock on his back, and he's kind of just carrying, some different sundries and things. And he's making his way towards them, seeing that there's kind of a larger group than what he remembers leaving. So he's a little confused at first, and he catches Eravil and Barandor and Grimmer. He smiles when he notices Grimmer. And then he notices a couple people that he doesn't quite recognize as he gets closer and closer, until finally he's close enough, and he's not sure if it's the light in his eyes or the trip was long. He rubs his eyes, squints them, and continues walking. And as he gets closer, he starts realizing his confusion and not knowing why he didn't recognize the persons, because it's not someone he was expecting. And immediately, Vidar drops what he was carrying, and you see him, in only the way a dwarf can, start running in this hobbled type of run. And he's just yelling, "Oi! Oi!"
I knew it.
And he's running and running, and he runs straight to Arthanor. And my eyes are bewitched. I don't care. And he grabs Arthanor, and his face to his waist, tries to give him a hug and lift him off the ground. I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead. The look in your eye, friend. I saw the look in your eye, and I thought you were dead. I tried staying, Arthanor. I'm sorry. I tried staying as long as I could. And he lets go of Arthanor and stands back and looks at him, and he just has a huge grin on his face.
Yeah, and upon getting picked up, I was like, "Oh, goodness, Vidar, put me down! Put me down, you madman!" Getting picked up and finally gets put back down. Have no worries, Vidar. I am back now. Though I did perish, I have come to reflect upon my decisions and realize I played no small part in my own demise that day. It is in the past now. I am surprised you're still alive. I thought you boisterous sorts would be gone by now, but I would have seen you pass me in the halls as I returned.
Vidar, he's both smiling and wiping a tear away at the same time. I don't care how. I don't care one bit. I don't know how. I'm just glad you're back, friend. And he reaches down and goes back and grabs the things he drops, comes back up to the group, and starts walking with Arthanor just a little bit. And he's just looking at him in amazement and smiling. And as the group kind of moves on, and he just says, "Oi, did you hear I'm a lord now? I have my own guard even." And just kind of continues with small talk as they all continue.
I can't seem to place them. Where are they?
Yes, Arthur, he keeps talking about them, but none of us can or know what is this. And Goodwill kind of looks back behind Vidar.
Well, this is a joyous reunion, but we have many miles to go, and we are not a horse. All of us, at least. So let us proceed to walking, then.
Agreed.
Yes, we've carried enough already.
Glorfindel kind of raises his brow, looks at Arthanor. If it was your friend's task to draw the eye of the enemy, I dare say they've done a dandy job of it. Dwarves trundling down roads, men stomping around the hills, halflings sneaking about in the rushes. I shall continue westward, seek the Ringbearer, fear he needs our aid.
They were to go to the north of the road. You should try to find them there.
Glorfindel swings himself up upon his horse again. Very well, Lord Eravul. I wish you all luck and speed. Remember your task. And also remember that 3 of those wretched creatures are still out there in the wild. And even for a lord and an elf of Rivendell, there are still dangers in this world. So be wary.
I have my spear to guide them, my friend. All shall be well.
Glorfindel just spurs his horse. Brias Gilthornial. He kind of speeds off down the road to the west, and as he passes, it's just like a flash of bright light, and you see him kind of disappear around that same bend where the wagon disappeared. And now that Arthanor is with you, that same hope starts to bolster your hearts a little bit.
Well then, if one of us can return from the halls of Mandos, then perhaps we can do a simple task as reach Rivendell before we're caught. Come, let us walk quickly, and tarry not. And Narvel begins to walk.
Vidar has a little bit of a skip in his step as he walks, and he keeps glancing over at Arthanor and just smiling every time he looks at him. He looks over at Goodwill, and his smile gets even bigger. He's just extremely happy of this turn of events, and he just can't hide it.
Goodwill, with his arms swinging side to side, walking between Athanar and Araviru. He has also skipped to his step. His thoughts about the Black Riders and the troubles and tribulations that have dogged them these past months. Kind of forgotten about them.
Yeah, Berender's he's pleasantly bewildered for the most part. It's kind of like one of those holiday scenes where the one person sits back in their chair and watches as everybody interacts with each other in a happy environment. So he still doesn't know what to think of it all, but at the same time, he's just kind of admiring it as he travels.
All right, if there's not anything else, we'll kind of go to our travel map and let you guys plan a little bit.
I'm good.
All right, so overview, here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. Here's the last bridge, and the ring icon is where your party is at. I've updated the tokens now here, so that should be good. Arthanor, why don't you make me just to see what your bonus die are for the rest of the journey? Why don't you just make me a travel roll at 14?
All right. Ah, we're back in business.
You're never very good at that. So no bonus die.
Since I wasn't here last session, should I make one?
Oh, yeah, you should as well.
He probably needs a token too.
Yeah, I need my token on here.
Let me throw your token out there. Oi, there's your bleeding token.
Oi.
Boy.
You say a travel roll?
Yep.
Oh, I have to do it off the sheet, huh?
No. Yep.
Could
Just
be a skills list.
token, skills. It says skills in progress.
Okay. Yeah. I keep seeing it. Say it's in progress. So I think it's not done.
Wow.
Bingo. So you get two bonus die. And, all right. So what route do you guys want to take? Do you
I mean, at this point, I think we just go on the road as quick as we can.
Yeah, I think
agreed.
sticking to the roads and drawing attention to us is kind of the goal.
All right.
Yeah, we had a very convoluted plan as of last time, but didn't really work out that way. So
You drew them off though, at least.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wandering around the troll shaws is not very advisable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to kind of stick along the road.
Mhm.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 100 miles. You're 100 miles from the ford. And you're going to stick right on the road. You're not going to go off the trail at all.
No. Doesn't make sense at this point.
We try to do it as fast as we can now. At this point, it's kind of like this is for us now, right? I mean, we've already kind of drawn them off, so now it's our time to get to safety.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just run into whatever was chasing Arthanar and Glorfindel on the way over.
Well, which way were the Nazgul coming from? The east or the west? When they fought on the
West.
So they're coming from over here somewhere.
Yeah, they're kind of up. They're near you. The three of them are at least near you, at least that you know of. Could be anywhere.
Well, my thought in character would be that they probably don't have any interest in going after us anymore. Maybe they do, but if they realize that we don't have the Ringbearer, I don't know. I say just go on the road for now.
3 days. Yeah, it's going to take 3 days. One travel check at TN 16. Oops.
So my is our bonus die correct on this screen? Mine's different from the last screen to this screen. So
you should have one. Yeah, it's on that travel screen. It's probably not correct. The other screen is.
I'm going to use that for my travel roll. TN 16, you say?
Yes.
And I said I was going to roll one, so. Yeah. I get great success.
Means you can pass one along.
I will pass it to Arthur. Wow, extraordinary success for Vidar.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, he can travel.
Mm-hmm.
I passed my bonus die to Arthur.
Would that?
I'll give you extra
it.
D6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So would I roll again? Or?
Did you already roll?
I thought I did. I rolled the 7.
I
I guess that's for bonus.
Yeah, that was for
for the
bonus
travel
die.
roll.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Let's try this then. And bonus die. Well,
Ah,
that's just a little bit of travel fatigue. I'm not. How much is it that I would take?
it's only 2 in the spring.
I used the bonus die though. I don't really know if I want to hope it, but if I use the bonus die, I feel like I kind of gotta hope it. So I'll hope it to pass. That's off of heart, I think, right, for travel?
Travel, look.
Heart or body?
Travel is going to be off of heart.
Heart. So yeah, I would pass. That's fine.
All right. Baradir, you went, didn't you?
Yeah, it's an
passed.
automatic success.
And Goodwill.
Goodwill passed with a 16.
Yeah, I passed with 16.
So I think that's everybody then.
Yep.
So the first night, you kind of continue along the road. It's a 3-day journey. And you go over the last bridge, and instead of kind of being surrounded by these rolling plains of brown and green grasses, you enter these copses of trees. It's not fall, it's actually spring now, so most of the colors are vibrant and green. And overhead, it's seems to be a little bit overcast as you get closer and closer to the mountains. And you feel yourself kind of, as you travel along the road, there's a gentle upward incline to the road as you slowly gain altitude towards Rivendell and the foothills of the Misty Mountains. That first night, you go ahead and make camp, and you're sitting around talking. And every once in a while, you do hear sounds from the wild that don't sound wholly friendly. And now and again, out in the shadows, you hear the growling of a wolf or the howling of a wolf way off in the distance. Does anybody want to make me a lore check?
I will.
I'd be at 16.
Wowzers.
I have Shadow Lord specialty if it helps any.
Ooh, that does actually. Let's let Barondeer take this one.
It's just automatic success, right? If it's a trait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Barondeer, you're a man of Gondor, and you've heard the tales told of the Dark Lord Sauron, and tales coming down from the First and Second Age, and they're little more but bedtime stories meant to scare the youngsters. But you know that the other name of Sauron is the Lord of Wolves, and he often would take the shape of a dark and terrible wolf when prowling the countryside and weaving his webs of deceit among the men in the elder days. There's even tales of him taking the shape of a great wolf and wrestling with Tolkas, one of the higher
God of strength.
Yeah. And you may kind of relay to the companions that the Nazgul may only be 3 of them, but just as the Rangers have allies of birds and beasts of the air and ground, that servants of the shadow can be found everywhere as well. So,
yeah, I'm assuming that as we're traveling, we'll hear the sounds of wolves, like you said.
mm-hmm.
Baronder's grow concerned and he'll ultimately hasten his step up to Erebor. And he's like, I fear we may have eyes upon us, my liege. Not all entirely human eyes either. Best would be on guard.
Yes, we'll set guards throughout the night. Keep your eyes open. He looks to Aglaron as well and nods to him to do the same.
Aglaron nods silently and steps just outside the radius of the campfire, if you have one, to stand watch throughout the night.
Yeah, we would definitely have a campfire, especially if there's talks of wolves.
Barender will go to Aglaron, and isn't what's his name, Willard, isn't he an archer as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll draw the 2 of them aside. He says, if your eyes see any wolves upon the trail, he says, best pretend you're a poacher and their hides are worth many coin, if you get my meaning.
Yes, Barondeer, that is indeed the right approach. We shall be on the trail. And Wilbur and Aglaron can kind of make their way.
That night passes fairly uneventfully. Wilward and Aglaron see glowing pairs of eyes in the darkness from time to time, but no attack is made on the camp, and morning comes and they set off again. This morning, though, there's a chill damp in the air, and it starts to rain a little bit as they smother their campsite and head off in the morning.
Rubbing my knee.
On the second day, they continue their journey, slowly going upwards, climbing. And at one point, they just leave the trail slightly to the north to take a quick break and have some lunch. Aglaron comes back from a short patrol. He's kind of smiling. You should go see what's in the woods just to the north. Something that, well, you'll just have to go see for itself. And he looks at Goodwill Tuk. So you may take particular interest, Goody.
Who? Me? Well, then I must go see. Show me the way, Aglaron. What is there to see?
Aglaron takes you down a small path that winds kind of across the creek bed, and there's a clearing, and in the clearing, Goodwill, you can see these 3 stone trolls there just frozen in the daylight.
My, what monstrous creatures these are, Aglaron. What are they? Why are they? Did somebody carve them out of stone? Why would someone do that?
I thought you heard the tale in Rivendell. I dare say these are the very trolls that Bilbo saw on his first adventure. Never thought I would live today to see them.
And Goody kind of stands there with his, mouth open with amazement. So not all of his stories were an embellishment. And then Goody kind of makes his way to the stone statues. And are there any pieces fallen down from the statue?
Yeah, one of them you look upwards and behind his left ear there's like a bird's nest there, but then his right ear has kind of crumbled off and has fallen onto the ground, and there's a bunch of rubble at the troll's right foot.
Yeah, Goody will pick up some of that stone and put in a bag. I think Bilbo will quite enjoy to see these stones again. And Goody's kind of laughing to himself.
Come on, Goodwill. We've tarried long enough. I know you would like to have a second lunch, but I dare say Eravul and Arthur would have none of it.
Yes, it has been a problem trying to convince them on the... How does one say this? The effectiveness of a second lunch. The positivity it brings to you. And then, just at that point, Goodwill's stomach is going to grumble loudly. Did you hear that, Aglaron?
Nay.
Well, my stomach asks for a second lunch, but I must follow the lead of Aravu. We need to get off these roads and back into Rivendell soon. I fear the Dark Riders are upon us shortly.
As you do that, you guys can all RP, or you want to break camp and continue?
The Goody's gonna defer to Aravu and...
Arvul is, the morning he begins to break down camp immediately after they're done eating so that they can continue on. He is not interested in waiting around for whatever's out there. Wolves, Nazgul, It doesn't matter. He is single focused to get Goody and the rest of his fellowship to Rivendell as soon as possible. And so he speeds through eating and immediately begins to prepare for the journey at hand again. And it's very, very clear he's been not ignoring Arthur, but kind of keeping his distance.
And Arthur would be just going about business as usual in this sense. He's packing up camp, quickly moving along, trying to get everything squared away and together, though he does perhaps lounge a bit longer, preening himself and stretching out before he is fully done to depart the camp.
Yeah, Vidar finishes his normal morning ale, and then relieves himself behind a tree before packing everything up, and gets his stuff together and just kind of gives Arthur a big smile again, and gathers everything and is waiting to go.
Berinder he'd be sitting eating. He'd probably sense Aravel's interest in getting down as quick as possible, so he'll follow suit, hasten the pace of his meal, and wipe his cups out and put them all aside, and grab his rucksack and make ready.
All right, and so comes the last day of your journey. As you get closer and closer to the Bruinnen, you can see ahead of you that the mountains start to loom overhead, whereas they used to be these small little purple peaks. There now you can see that they're topped with snow. You can see these jagged cliff walls, leagues and leagues to the east. You can see the foothills kind of rising up slowly and creating little valleys, and in one of those valleys you realize that it's likely nestled the last homely house and Rivendell. And now you have to decide what you're going to do when you get to the Ford of the Bruinnen. You have not been confronted by any wolves or any untoward creatures, or heard anything menacing in the night. But if ever the enemy was going to intercept the Ringbearer, it would be at this point. So describe to me that last leg of your journey and how you're going to approach that.
I think Arvel would suggest that they, although stay to the road, perhaps zigzag across it, not staying directly on the road at any one time, but following it from the sides, so it's not so obvious, but still they're more or less within eyeshot of it. At the very least, sowing some confusion.
Berinder would advise you'd probably be best to send a couple of scouts ahead too, aka the absent player and NPC.
Mm-hmm. That is, Arvel agrees. Turning to Aglaron. Aglaron, I need your elvish eyes once again. The ford is upcoming, and we both know if the enemy wishes to waylay us, it will be there. Take Wilward with you. See what you can see.
Aglaron nods. He turns to Willward.
We shall go to the ford. Keep an eye out. I'm a little concerned that the elf might keep both his eyes shut. I'll be there to ensure it stays open.
I will just clasp you on the shoulder. Be wary.
We shall. With that,
Okay, go ahead, Will.
oh, sorry. Yeah. So with that, Wilward and Aglaron will kind of make their way deeper into the forest, off the road, and kind of hide their movement till they get to the fjord.
Yeah, I was about to say Baron there before y'all left. He would accent Erevel's wishes by basically adding a very affirmative. Just like, yes, this is no need for heroics. Just ascertain the situation and report back as quick as possible. You know, he seems to look around as if he's still feeling watched, and he's just like, strength and numbers and all that. Yes.
Indeed, Baron, dear, indeed. No heroics.
So eventually the group is zigzagging kind of back and forth across the road, and it kind of crests over a hill, and then you see it's like it opens up into like a long plain. It's like almost a mile, and that's when you guys, Aglaron and Willward, break off from the rest of the group. And I have seen kind of, you see Aglaron and Willward are kind of on their own, keeping to small copses of trees, and they come out the other side of one of them, and they see down below a large kind of rocky shoal with a stream kind of bubbling and foaming over rocks. And Willward and Aglaron creep closer and closer, and Aglaron just hold up his hand, like kind of in a stop, and he points down to the ford. You guys see down at the ford, kind of along the water, just kind of riding back and forth, are three specks, three figures, and at the heels of their steeds mount these, kind of trot these wolves, and they go back and forth, kind of restlessly waiting for something. Aglaron is almost dumbfounded and looks at Willward.
They are ahead of us. But how? Such unnatural speed.
The enemy
Aglaron,
presses.
stay here. Keep an eye on them. I shall make my way back. I have to report back to Arview and the rest of them. They need to be warned. This seems like an ambush.
Aglaron just nods.
Willward will double time his way back. Eventually, when he catches up to Arview, he relates. Arview, at the fjord, they're waiting for us. 3 of the Black Riders with wolves at their heels.
Arvel frowns. Then we mustn't go that way. He looks to Arthur. He's not said a lot to the elf since they've rejoined. You know the way into Rivendell? Is there an alternate path besides the ford?
If there is one, it eludes me. I have heard of no such path. The fjord must be crossed.
Bo, is this a river that could be forded elsewhere?
If it could, there's nowhere you know that it can be. It may be far, far, far to the south. It can be, but the Bruinnen, or the Loudwater, is a wide, fast-flowing river, except in this spot.
Yeah.
This is why it's kind of a very strategic point for Rivendell. It's kind of the same type of situation that the last bridge is.
Yeah.
You could take you could take the, I think that's the river that is, the Horwell, whatever it is, way far south, where it meets the Swanfleet, but that's going to be way out of your way.
Arvel turns to the rest of the Fellowship. If we go into the fort, we will not survive. It is a worthless and unnecessary loss of life at this point. They've already been drawn away from Lord Aragorn. I would hear other people's opinion on what we should do. If we cannot ford elsewhere,
Wilward looks at Aravu. Yes, it is indeed difficult to fight one Black Rider, but 3 of them, that's nigh impossible. I've seen a single one rout an entire village by themselves. Goody from the back. Aravu, we cannot go down there. The last time we faced a single rider upon the Misty Mountains, we all nearly perished.
yes, if it was not for Gandalf and Lord Glorfindel, we would have. And so, what is it that we will do? We could return to Bree. We could follow the river south and...
Vidar, he looks to the group. And what of the Ringbearer? And for the Ringbearer.
Yes. I do not know what has happened to the Ringbearer, but we have drawn these 3 off, and Glorfindel goes to assist Lord Aragorn.
Yes, well, if the Ringbearer hasn't crossed yet, then these will be waiting for them. We must draw them away. We must make our presence known, and then flee, forcing them to chase us. That way the Ringbearer has a chance to cross without interference.
Arvel thinks for a moment.
I could use my steed to draw them away.
Looking to get back to the halls of Mandos already, are you?
They are fast, but not as fast as I am. I could lure them away a spell, double back, give you all a chance to cross. Though I would have to give them a good reason to follow me. A suspicion that I may be carrying something of value to them.
Which...
Vidar looks over at Goody.
Yeah. He looks at Goody, Arvel does, and frowns.
Of course I would not take him. I would take the dwarf, and I would motion my head to Vidar.
Vidar's eyes get wide and he looks.
No, Athanar. If we are to do this, we do it together or not at all. I shall not lose you again. And I shall not leave you behind again. The mountains was a mistake. It shall not happen again. You either ride with me or you ride not at all.
Well, I suppose the Hobbit has spoken. I do not see a much better plan at this time unless you intend to wait out the race, though I suspect they have an infinite amount more time than we do walking this land.
Did they appear to be waiting, or were they trying to find an ideal spot to cross the river?
No, Baron dear, they were waiting. The wolves seemed anxious. They wanted to find their quarry, rip them apart.
Hunting predators, hunting prey. Most distressing.
What I find distressing is they overtook us and got here before us. What I worry is they may know something we do not.
They may even be different riders.
Very true. If there's 3 here waiting, who knows how many more could be someone else driving their quarry to them.
Goody looks up at Arthur and then looks at Aravule. Aravule, it must mean something that the halls of Mandos have returned Arthur back to us. Maybe in it lies some wisdom that we cannot yet see. We have all been a distraction for someone else. Maybe it's time to be a distraction for each other. If Arthur and I ride out, you know I'm well protected. He is Spider-Bane after all. It might give the rest of you chance to cross if they are to follow us. If they do not, then just camp out here till another solution presents itself.
Well, if he did attempt to take Vidar, he would no longer be very fast, that is for certain.
Vidar kind of sucks in his gut when he says that.
And Goody kind of, pats you on your gut. It is not your girth, Vidar, that... It is the coins you carry. They make a lot of noise.
Oi, that's right. It's the coins.
Indeed it is.
I think it is a mixture of both, but if you wish to believe it is the jingling in your pocket as opposed to the sloshing in your gut, then so be it.
Goody kind of elbows Arthur's just like his shin. Now, Arthur. We are embarking on what could be a perilous journey for you and me. No need to part with such words.
Well, at least we know that he is truly Arthanor and no doppelganger has chosen him. Very well. Do as you see fit, Arthanor, and we will attempt to cross. I suggest riding back towards Bree if you get caught in the middle of the Nazgul and not able to cross yourselves.
Yes, I will attempt to loop back around and lose them, and then cross. I suggest you all make ready just out of sight. I will present myself and goodwill to them, and then we will lead them on a merry chase.
Perhaps we can slow them down with arrows, shoot their horses as they ride.
Such course would give our positions away, our very presence.
I do not know that they will care once they see the halfling. They will not worry about us. They will attempt to go after Goody. That is their prize, not us.
Still, though, it's a precarious gambit.
They would likely take those on foot and then pursue me later. It is not as if you could escape them if they chose to ride you down instead.
Most likely they would just sick the hounds upon us.
Yes, Yes, perhaps.
which we still could not run down.
Aravil, you have protected these fellowship long enough. You have done everything a leader can be asked to do and more. Now it is time for... out of character, is fate a word used in Tor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now it's time for fate to take over out of you.
Doom, they say. They use doom in the old
Doom.
sense a lot. They say, you must do this doom, this fate.
If the shadow prevails today, let it prevail upon us, and not the true Ringbearer. Let his journey be smooth through these lands, and let him reach his destination in one piece. That is, after all, what we are all tasked with.
Very well then.
Goody kind of comes closer and kind of reaches out around your waist and gives you a hug. I shall meet you again, old friend. We shall meet. I shall hold Athena to it. There shall be no foolishness. There shall be no heroics and bravery. After all, there is a story of Fat Sarkin to tell Athena. He's not the only Spider-Bane, you know. And that Goody kind of gives like this very half-hearted smile to Aravil, trying to cheer him up.
Yeah, Arabul reaches down and ruffles your hair. Well, I suppose I knew it could come to this, one way or another. Listen to Arthur most times, if we're separated for a long while. He will, at the very least, protect you. That I am sure of.
Today we make the Shire proud, and he kind of looks at everyone. Today we make Cardolan proud. He looks at Vidar and Grimur. Today is the day the dwarfs will sing about us, Vidar.
And Vidar, he just smiles and he grabs your shoulder, squeezes it, gives you a big grin, and
If doom is to fall upon us, I know no better warriors to meet it.
and he lets go of your shoulder.
We have reached this far. Or is a few steps more?
Right, what does it look like as Goodwill swings up on the back of Arthur's horse and they ride out?
Yeah.
This is not the scale, but
Goodway is going to make sure that the ring that Aravil gave him is hanging from his neck and is clearly visible. Like clearly visible that there's a ring around him, and he makes sure that it's visible that he's a hobbit. To make sure that the legs are uncovered, the face, the hair.
Arthur would brandish his spear and then as Goodwill hops onto the back, you look to everyone else. Don't let the current sweep you away, and make sure you enter Rivendell safely. I shall see you hopefully soon. He give a half bow to everyone from his horse and then ride out into the road very plainly for the Nazgul to see.
What's that look like as you guys clop out there onto the road on your white stallion in front of these guys?
And so Arthur would clip-clop out into the roadway with his stallion, pause for but a brief moment observing them all, and then brandish his spear high above his head. Come then, riders, men of weak hearts. Let us see if you can match an elf. Let us see if you can keep my pace. The pathetic beasts that you ride, the pathetic cause which you represent. Come now, if you can. And then slap the sides of the horse with the spurs and begin to lure them away if I can, riding hard to the west side of the map. Hoping that they follow.
As you ride out, you kind of turn to your left, and one of the Nazgul kind of slowly kind of turns the steed around, and the wolf is at the steed's heels and kind of clops towards you. Arthur can see this wraith in all of its terrible glory. This brilliant, white, gleaming king of old with a pale crown upon his head. Goody can probably just see that a hand, an invisible hand, comes and throws back a cloak, but Arthur can see this king like draw this sword and just screech. "Ah! You, elf, come hither and meet your doom. We will have what we seek, and you will bring it here. Bring us a halfling." And all of them, they're not quite riding, but they start to kind of like very menacingly kind of in like the kind of triangle formation and start to close on you. "In the name of the Dark Lord Sauron, fear me now." And I want Arthur does not have to make this, but Goodwill makes a corruption check at 18.
Sorry, that's at Valor or Wisdom?
Let me look at see what this one actually is. This one is dreadful spells, 10, 18, corruption. That would be wisdom.
Wisdom. 18. Fuck you.
Language. Language, Master Hobbit. Language.
The elf sees this thing threatening and can feel the fear buffeting forth from this shadow of darkness, but it does not. He has been to the halls of Mando's impact. It does not faze him. And the Hobbit too stares into the void of this being that is not alive and not dead. And icy grip of cold starts to clutch at the heart of the Hobbit. But then he finds some resolve and is able to stare at this thing in its eyes, and it seems that he sees flames burning in the depths of Udun. So how does he resist this thing valiantly?
And Goodwill looks at the Nazgul. "You have no power over me, the shadow. There is strength in my vulnerability, in facing my demons and knowing that my kindness is more important. You shall not have what you seek, and you shall head back to your master in failure.
With that, you just hear all three of the Nazguls just screech, and they spur their steeds, and the dead gallop towards you. There's mud spraying from the back of their heels, and you hear the wolves growl. They're coming straight at you.
Immediately turn and begin to lure them down the road, riding hard.
So they're chasing after you. Fly! Fly, coward! We will have the halfling one way or another. And you look behind you, these steeds are just frothing at the mouth, and they're all closing on you.
Continue to ride out hard. Are there any woods or sideway passages?
Yep.
Yeah, I would take a hard cut into the woods to pull them away from everyone else.
Let's just have everybody's tokens just over here for effect. Goodwill. That's all right.
Yes.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay. So you see, so you guys, everybody like hiding in the back or whatever, you guys see this happen. You see them maybe dash 100 meters back to the west, and then like exit the road off of a path, and just you hear the Nazgul screeching, and you hear the howling of wolves, and your friends disappear into the woods.
And our
How do you guys react?
whispers, "Come, now is the time. To the ford. Don't tarry. Let's go." And he nods for Aglaron to take the lead. Quickly now. Quickly.
Vidar follows behind, and he gives a pensive look back towards the west, the direction Arthanor rode off with Goodwill. Concerned and worried, of course, for both of them. And he just kind of is grim and obviously worried as he follows towards the brook for the ford.
So you guys head down towards the ford. And there's a cutscene, and the Nazgul are pursuing Arthanor and Goody, and they're like flying through trees, and the trees are just like slapping at their face, no doubt scraping and cutting their cheeks. But tell me how that looks as these Nazgul just bear down on you. They're driving their steed past the point of exhaustion because they do not care for these living things. They care for one thing. They want to see this halfling dead.
So I'm going to continue riding hard, and occasionally stealing a glance back, but making sure that I'm focusing enough to not run us into a tree. And if possible, I would like to, I know they're close, if we hit some kind of bend or curve, I want to try to dismount along with Goodwill and slap the horse on the rear to keep it running and attempt to let them ride past. If I can do something to that effect, perhaps confuse them.
Absolutely. What type of check do you think would be good for that?
Ooh, that's tough. That is difficult. I'm not
Just do
certain
like
we have something.
like battle or just battle.
Could do battle or athletics for the dismount.
Sounds like athletics to me.
That's going to be a very fast dismount for me.
Just do athletics. Goodwill can use his distinctive feature, right? You can just kind of like.
Oh yeah, Goodwill is just going to use his small, he's just going to roll off the horse as soon as Arthanor lets go of it. He's just basically holding on to Arthanor. So it's just like a little bag that's slung around Arthanor's shoulder. So he's just going to dismount with him. and small distinct feature to kind of not be seen by larger creatures.
Okay, so athletics. And let's see. What's TN?
16.
I will use hope on that to make it 17, and with a great success, I believe, because body for athletics, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So it'd be 17 with a great success. Body
Okay.
7.
So what does that look like here?
So turning a hard bend, I quickly glance. I've been looking for something like this as we were riding along, because I realized that they're going to ride until the horses die, both mine and theirs. So I find a small outcropping off to the right, and trusting Goody to have good instinct, I roll off the horse, slap it on the rear hard as it continues to keep it going, only with my most important effects off of it, and then quickly roll into the outcropping, press myself and Goodwill up against a corner out of sight, hiding as best as we can to wait for them to pass.
As they do that, the Nazgul just kind of stop. They kind of slow to a gallop, to a trot, and kind of wheel the horses around. And you can see the stooped figures, Goodwill. You can see them in their cloaks, and you hear kind of sniffing around. How they do. Goodwill, I want you to make a fear check at 16.
Fear is valor.
Valor.
16.
How's that look? Again, you want to cry out. You want to move. You want to cast your face down into the mud. But what do you do instead?
Goodwill kind of looks to Arthur, and he kind of looks to the side towards the west where he knows his friends are, and he looks up into the cloaked, hooded figure that's sniffing. You shall not find me. You shall fail this day. You shall go empty-handed back to your master.
So they
And with that kind of Goodwill kind of still kind of moves back a little deeper into the brush, holding Arthur a little tighter.
The horses just snort and they trot off again into the woods and disappear through the leaves, and you just kind of hear the snarling of wolves and the screaming as Nazgul gets closer and closer. So back down by the river. These guys are almost down to the river at this point.
Yeah, I'm waiting for everyone to pass me before I go down. Hurry! Hurry, hurry! He's kind of waving Berendir and Vidar towards the river to ford it. And then he would come along behind
Aglaron leaves his hiding place and sprints down across the field running.
Arvel's just waiting for people to rush by him and begin to ford the river. He will stand on that bank until everyone else is on the other side.
Yeah, Berendir's definitely beating feet.
Vidar, Grimoire.
Yeah, so Vidar, he's trying to rush as fast as Vidar possibly can towards the water. He's just kind of... he's glancing off to the side in the direction that everyone else went running, the direction Arthanor and Goodwill took off. There's clanking of his armor and his mattock bouncing on his back until he finally reaches up to the rest of them. Kind of comes to a stop as he reaches the water, waiting to cross with everyone else.
So as you go down towards the water, you see kind of emerge from the trees pretty near where they left the path, pursuing Goodwill and Arthur. You see there's 3 Nazgul emerge along with the wolves, and your heart might be lifted a little bit.
Which way are they going? Away from us, or?
Yeah, they're kind of still traveling away from you, but they're kind of wheeling about. At that point, too, you see from a copse of trees just south of the road, you see Aragorn emerge, and he is leading a white horse on one side, and you see Glorfindel leading a white horse on the other side. Atop that horse perched is very sickly-looking Frodo Baggins. They emerge from the trees, and you see Glorfindel whisper something into his ear, and sets Frodo on his horse towards the ford. At the exact same time, you see emerge from behind them the rest of the riders. And you hear them scream.
We're not alone, Master Erebor! We're not alone!
The Nazgul that were taken off the beaten path by Goodwill and Arthur wheel about, but at this point, they're far lagging behind the others. And so Frodo is on this white steed just fleeing towards the ford. And behind them, you see kind of Aragorn and Glorfindel just... It's like their blades leap with fire as they kind of unleash them and usher the rest of the hobbits towards the ford as well. Fly, hobbits, go to safety. I will give you my life if I must, Aragorn says, and he kind of just braces himself near Glorfindel. Goodwill and Arthur, from where you are, probably in your hiding spot, you can hear the Nazgul, and their interest in you is gone, and they have fled back again towards the fjord. What are you doing?
Arthur, they have not taken the bait. We must move now.
We must move closer, but I fear if they're no longer on our trail, they're on another's.
And with that, Goodwill looks at Arthur.
No, it cannot be.
Come, move carefully. If we see an opportunity to cross or to help, we will take it. Start to...
Goodwill will nod his head and start following Arthur.
Aravul, he steps back and kind of puts his back to Berendir and Vidar, kind of pushing them out of the way. Move! Let him cross! Wait here! He just moves to the side a little bit, trying to give Frodo some room.
Yeah, Vidar gets out of the way of the oncoming obvious onslaught of this huge group. He sees Aragorn, and he sees, the Ringbearer and everyone kind of barreling towards them, and he moves as far out of the way as he can to clear an area for them to get through.
And Aravul yells over to Aglaron and Willward, "Begin to cross! Shoot at their horses, see if you can slow them down!"
And Willward would respond,
Yes, my liege.
Willward will start crossing and shoot if he can.
Yep. Frodo is just barreling down towards you. They're all coming down at you as well. They pass Aragorn and Glorfindel, paying them no heed. And you guys can take shots if you'd like. The horses.
Yep. Yeah, Willward and Aglaron would. I guess I can too, sure, why not?
Nice shot.
Yeah.
Oh, to hit them, yeah.
I mean, maybe
No,
the horses are
it's-
different, though.
It's a horse. It's going to be 14 for a horse.
Oh, we both hit.
Okay. Then
It's like hitting the broadside of a
Yeah.
barn, I would think, right?
Wilward shot hits for 18.
Argle as well. Shoot for Aglaron, or I can't. I have control of him.
Shoot for him. Maybe you'll have better luck.
Oh,
What an event!
baby!
It's an extraordinary success, even with a 1.
So as you're down there, you guys turn. These things are barreling towards you. You don't feel the fear because they are single-mindedly in pursuit of Frodo Baggins in the ring. Frodo dashes through the water, spraying up white mist as he does so, and his horse stops on the other side. 3 of these horses, the first 3 that are going in, their horses are struck by bows and stop at the embankment, just collapsing, throwing their riders headlong into the water. So tell me what that looks like, guys.
So as the first Nazgul kind of rides past Wilward pulls a bow out, knocks it, pulls the string back, and he holds it there for a couple of seconds as he's tracking the lead Nazgul. He moves the bow a couple of inches forward and lets the arrow go, timing it exactly when the arrow hits the Nazgul's steed.
Arvel has never.
You shall not cross.
Arvel's never been very good with a bow, but he knows if it's time to be good, it better be now. He aims, tracks where the horse is going, attempts to shoot it in the middle of its chest. He releases the arrow, and perhaps there's some work of fate in his favor as the arrow pierces the facial armor of facial barding of the horse, impaling itself in the eye. The horse tumbles forward, crashing, and throws the rider overhead into the water with a great splash.
The other steeds, heedless to their fallen comrades, they thunder down into the fjord, and where the water is like 1 or 2 feet deep. And go ahead.
As they're coming forward, Vidar would have had his mattock out, and the first one that got near him, he would have swung his mattock as hard as he could towards the legs of the horse.
Make it so. What's that look like? Yeah,
So
some
my
the
knee
music
cap.
swells.
So as that first horse came rushing towards the group, ignoring all of us around them, ignoring the horses that had been shot and the riders thrown, in their single-minded focus of getting towards Frodo, they had no notice of the dwarf kind of standing off to the side, holding his mattock almost like in a batter's position. And as this horse came rushing forward, Vidar just kind of spit on the ground, and as it got closer, swung his mattock just straight at the horse's legs as it got near him, and he crumpled the horse's legs with like this sickening pop and crack, throwing the horse face down into the dirt and the mud, kind of sloughing all over the place, and the rider went splashing into the water as well.
Nice. So that happens. Aragorn and Glorfindel close a little bit, their swords drawn. Frodo Baggins kind of clambers up the other far bank of the river and draws his weapon, pulls it into the air, and you hear a very tiny voice. "Oh, Elbereth! Elbereth Gilthonia! Elbereth Gilthonia! Lady Tenuvio! Lady Tenuvio and Luthien!" And then suddenly you're And upstream, you know how this looks. The waters start to rise. The waters start to rise and start to swell, and the black riders look to their left. And as they look to the left, they are just pummeled by this white water that comes down on high. A few of them try to clamber up to the dry land, but then Aragorn and Glorfindel close on them with their blades, and the fear drives them back into the water. And they are washed away, leaving on that far side a lone small hobbit who you see sway in his saddle and then kind of collapse. Just a scene for effect. So you can RP the rest of this out, what it looks like.
Arvel, being right next to the bank, on the bank of the river, kind of gets turned as these Nazgul ride by him, the bodies flying, the horses tumbling. When the water rushes down, he looks in the direction of the massive swell, backing up instinctively and falling backwards onto his back as the water just sprays up over his head everywhere. And you can't get a good look at what has happened, but knows that something significant has just occurred.
Vidar just kind of feels the spray of water and mist as the water comes rushing through. And he wipes his face and he looks and sees the hobbit on the other bank. And he just looks at him and looks at how small he is and how almost lonely he looks standing over there by himself. But a sort of pride and accomplishment swells up in Vidar as he realizes he's safe. The Ringbearer is safe. And he looks over at his friends to make sure everyone's okay. And starts trying to take an account of the people he's with and the friends he's here with. And starts looking around to make sure that everyone is all right.
Yeah, Barander is pretty straightforward and meticulous in his actions, so this whole thing caught him pretty much as a giant ball of confusion. He's making his way to the ford. He gets down. He tries to stay as close to Arvel as possible. Once they get down to it, he realizes he has to suddenly turn around and avoid this oncoming pony or horse. And behind that, even more riders, and as well as what he's glad to see, but only momentarily, Aragorn and the rest. So this, on top of the simple fact that half the group has chosen to start shooting at the Nazgul, catches him off guard, so he don't know if he needs to divert his attentions there. And then as he spins around and sees the riders getting even closer, that's about the time the water starts to do its thing. It's pretty much all he can do not to get cast away with the water itself. So he pretty much is, like I said, just one big giant ball of confusion. But once it's all said and done, he starts to regain his senses and immediately does a tactical survey of everything. Starts looking around. By the stars, oh my gosh, oh! Where is everyone, Master Arvel? Starts looking around. Ultimately dawns upon him that hopefully the Nazgul aren't there.
As you look around, the river starts to go down and the swell resolves, and you don't see any evidence of the Nazgul anymore. They've been washed away. Arthanor and Goodwill are likely out of hiding, or?
Yeah, I mean, upon seeing that, I'm assuming we would have seen the giant cascade of water.
Mm-hmm.
Upon seeing that, I know that no small amount of protection has been afforded. And so I smile and kind of stand up. The threat is past for now, Goody. Come, let us regroup with the others.
Goody, for once, who's always full of words and songs, he is breathtaking with what has just happened, and he follows Arthur silently, taking in, every sensation that he feels when he crosses the field.
Glorfindel and Aragorn speed across the fjord, and Glorfindel scoops up the frail figure of Frodo and then places him back upon the horse and then swings up on the saddle himself behind him. You must speed away to Rivendell. There will be time to tell the tale later of what has happened here, and that this hobbit no doubt is still alive because of the bravery of his friends. But for now we must make haste. I fear that this hobbit's wounds may be beyond even the skill of Master Elrond. Ha! Cass spurs his horse and disappears up a mountain path, going up into that rim of the Bruinnen Valley you guys are so familiar with by now.
And upon regrouping with everyone, Arthur would look about and, well, we'd best not tarry either. It's unlikely to have felled the Nazgul for good. They may very well ride back to this spot sooner rather than later. Best we get to the safety of Rivendell.
Is the river safe enough to cross now?
Worry not.
Look at it. It would have died down by then, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Arvel just says, "Follow me." We push forward, river note. And he begins to ford the river.
Idar, he just kind of, with a half smile and a feeling of contentment, holds it there and looks around at everyone, kind of gives a satisfying nod and starts wading into the water as it, reaches up to his chest as he's wading through, up to his shoulders. And he just follows Arvel to the other side of the bank.
Unless anybody else has anything pressing, we'll end it as everybody winds the way up to Rivendell, and the ring is safe for time being.
Cool.
Arvel walks down the path towards Rivendell and puts a hand on Goody's shoulder and simply smiles. We've made it once again.
As I knew we would, old friend.
You have some bit of trust in what fate has in store for us. Hopefully it is good in the days to come. For at least we know... He kind of looks up into the sky. Greater things look after us. If they return one such as Arthanor to our midst. We are not without friends, we are not without a chance in all this. I take hope from that, at the very least.
Goodwill nods his head. As long as we stick together and fight and not give in to the shadow, Aravil, I think fate will be on our side.
And a little later, after their conversation, maybe in the evening, after they've had some food and they've relaxed some and had some ale, Vidar leans over and kind of elbows Goodwill a little bit, and he sucks in his gut just a little bit. And does Arthanor still really think I'm fat? And he looks concerned about this. I mean, I'm not that fat, am I?
Pay no heed to the words of the elf, Vidar. He has spent some time in the halls of Mandos. Cheer has left him. Let him spend some time with you in merriment, and he too shall grow a little belly.
Vidar looks at Goodwill and smiles at his friend and looks at everyone else eating and drinking and smiles and... Well, he does know I'm a lord now, doesn't he? I mean, I've got my own guard. And he continues to drink and raise his cup and look around at all of his friends, just glad to be here in this special place.
All right, that's all I got. Unless you guys want to do fellowship phase, which can be tedious, so we can just do that out of character.
Yeah, we can get offline. It's fine.
Yep, we can do that for... OC.
Yay! Arthanor's back!